The Fencing Zulu. Frozen Orgy. Snootful. Wesley calls Picard Skipper.
It's back.
Hello and welcome to Into the Wormhole with Larissa and Lauren. I'm Larissa Maestro, and here with me is my number one,
Lauren Lowen, season 1 without the beard. Always without the beard.
It's a particular, preference, the no beard
Yes.
situation. You got to be in the right mood for it,
It's less itchy this way. Call me Bill.
Bill, what? So today we are continuing a little series that we started. We have like a couple of these little series that we're starting to do where we take a theme and sort of like expand it over several episodes. And this little series is the Star Trek remix.
Ba 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 ba.
It's the thing that happens where Star Trek takes a thing that they've already done and then they do it again.
Yes, and sometimes it can be just a homage, or the first one, for instance, was sort of the Tribble duality between the original series Tribble episode and then the Deep Space Nine one. And then other times it might be a premise or a plot that's sort of recycled or rehashed. And sometimes it works really well, and maybe sometimes it doesn't. And it feels sort of like been there, done that. So we're kind of going into some of these.
Yeah. Sometimes you're like, am I having deja vu? And other times you're like, why, Rick Berman? Why?
Sometimes it's like, are we doing this again? Really?
Did we need this again? Did we need to go back to this subject again? Or were you just out of ideas?
And the Tribble one was really fun, but I'll be super curious to hear what you think about this remix.
So this remix this time around, we're talking about the season 1 original series episode, The Naked Time, and the season 1 TNG episode, The Naked Now. This is hilarious. These are fucking hilarious.
Oh my gosh. And we're back in season 1 of Next Gen. We there just a couple episodes ago, but we're also in, I didn't realize that, see, I'm going to get these episodes so confused between Naked Time and Naked Now.
Yeah.
But Naked Time was also a season 1. It's like the 5th episode of the original series, right?
Yeah. It's the 6th episode.
So, okay.
Well, on Netflix. On Netflix's seasons, you never know.
It's very early, but
it's 5th or 6th
realize
episode.
It was so early. It's been a long time since I've seen this one.
And the TNG episode is like the 3rd episode.
It is literally the first like real episode after the pilot.
Pilot.
Yeah.
And I almost accidentally auto-played Code of Honor, which comes right after this episode. I was like, whew. Dodged a bullet there.
Not today, not today.
Yeah, not today. I am not watching that today. It was like, up next in 20 seconds, Code of Honor. I was like, no.
Close one. Phew.
Oh, it was a very close one. I don't think I could have handled it, There's just so much going on in the world. To accidentally end up watching Code of Honor, it might break me.
It would have been the last straw.
I would be like, this far, no further.
Larissa would not be here if she had accidentally watched Code of Honor.
It's true. So I don't know how you want to do this. I feel like it would be good to just sort of like talk about the premise itself first, and then talk about how each episode
deals with it.
Does it.
Yeah, because it's really interesting. I'll just say that like the Tribble remix we did, that one was interesting because it was more of like a love letter to the original series, and they were trying to be very clever about working a new narrative in between, I guess you say, into the cracks, the fabric of the original episode. And this one is more of just like a beat by beat rehash of the TOS episode. It's just, let's put TNG characters in there. So I think you're right. I think whereas Tribbles, it made more sense to dissect each episode, this one's more about, let's talk about what's actually going on and how each series handled it.
Yeah, totally. It's the exact same story. It's just, it's exactly the same story.
It is. I was kind of surprised watching them again. I was like, hey, wait a minute.
Like, everything's the same. So, basically the premise is that the Enterprise in both episodes is on its way to a research station, whether that's a station on a planet or a ship itself, that's observing some sort of natural phenomena. And they get there and everyone's dead. It is, this is a thing that we've talked about before. That is scary, to like arrive at a place and everyone's dead.
Yes.
Everyone's dead and you don't know why. In both cases, someone died in the shower with all their clothes on, froze to death in the shower. People just lying on the floor. Mannequins just lying on the floor.
So many mannequins.
People just basically doing drunk party shit, and now they're dead.
Yes, death by partying is what I like to say.
So they're like, this is fucking weird. Somebody from the away team comes back and starts to act drunk and weird and crazy and paranoid. In the TNG version, it's Geordi. And in the TOS version, it's Lieutenant Junior Grade Joe Tormelin. In his case, he dies because he stabs himself with a butter knife.
He falls on a butter knife.
Luckily, Geordi does not die. Geordi is fine. Everything's fine. But after this condition starts to spread throughout both crews. And in the process of this happening, some kind of situation for both of them happens in which they are stuck. Someone locks themselves in engineering and they can't get in there to fix a problem. And they're going to die because either they're crashing into a planet or a piece of rock is hurling through space at them and they need to move, but they can't because...
Yes. There is some threat from the phenomenon they're observing, and somebody, you may have mentioned this, not only do they have to get in engineering, but like somebody else takes over the ship while infected and essentially space drunk.
Yes. Yeah. And in both cases, they lock themselves in engineering and no one can get to them.
Yes.
Because they're locked in engineering. On the original Enterprise, it's a guy obsessed with being Irish named Kevin Thomas Riley, who goes to the engineering control room, locks himself in, and then broadcasts himself singing an Irish folk song to the whole ship for the entire episode.
Don't you love how we just talked about Irish representation in Fairhaven, and now we're back to like the drunk Irish singing?
And then on the TNG episode, it's Wesley.
Yes.
Who gets drunk and then locks himself in engineering by geniusing his own force field from a toy that he made.
Yes,
basically.
He has a science experiment. It's basically a mini tractor beam, and then he is able to reverse engineer it so that it can also be essentially like a force field. It can repel, and I also love it because he happens to build like a little talk box it mimics Jean-Luc Picard, like calling people to the bridge and stuff. And
that's one of my
watching
favorite
this,
parts.
you're like, gee, I wonder if this is going to come into play later on. And so both things do in the hands of a drunk Wesley. What is that quote again? You wrote it down in the notes, but.
So I'm drunk. I feel strange, but also good.
Yes. Yes, Wesley.
Yes, basically. Yes, that absolutely is true. And then they, they're able to get the drunk person in engineering. They're able to get him out. The doctor in both cases finds a cure and vaccinates everyone. And then they figure out how to get out of this dire situation that they're in. In the case of the original series, in the process, they also discover time travel.
Right? And in the words of Larissa, are we going to go back to that ever again?
No. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, he's like, we might risk it someday. And
What the fuck? They discovered time travel, but also like no one's ever like, so they have to like really, really like deeply search in the TNG episode for like this thing happening. It wasn't like an important day in history that the Enterprise discovered time travel and everybody knows that this happened. Like it was like hard for them to.
That's a really
find
good
this
point, because when this happens in the TNG episode, I love how Riker's like, I remember studying something where somebody was found clothed in a shower. Like that's the big thing from the case. And you think it would be like, I learned in the academy about the situation where, someone traveled through time and had to relive 3 days. But no, it's showering with your clothes on, which, apparently is taught in the classroom now at Starfleet Academy.
Right. This has never happened in this universe before. No one's ever time traveled in the history of Star Trek ever before. This is the first instance of time travel in Star Trek. And it's just like, oh, well, that was pretty cool. Glad we got out of it.
It makes you kind of wonder if they did that because they wanted to set themselves up for, like, maybe in this early episode, we should make this a possibility and then we can play that card later on. And maybe it did. I'm sure, by the way, like, I don't read the books, and I know there's probably someone out there who's like, oh, well, in this book, actually. But we're just talking about the TV show. And I haven't seen all of TOS. I've seen a lot of it, and a lot of it I haven't watched in a long time. So maybe
I'm trying to think about how did they get back in time for the whales? How did that happen? You know what I'm saying?
That was like the slingshot around the planet.
Yeah, that was not the same thing.
Okay. Well,
I was trying to see if it was the same. There's no way it is.
TOS episode. I want to ask what you like, but also I feel like we need to talk about the scene where they go to the lab because of those wonderful biohazard suits, and then in relation to how those suits are involved with the initial infection.
Yes, we do. We have to talk about all of that.
Yeah, that stands out in my mind a lot from this episode.
Oh, this opening of the Naked Time is so much fun to watch. It's excellent. It's so much fun. It's just like ha 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 ha. First of all, the suits that they're wearing, the space suits that they're wearing, are really just like some pretty cloth. It's pretty cloth. Their helmets are just made of cloth, and there's absolutely no airtight situation at all happening. It's just draped fabric.
Yes. Oh, allow me to nudge in for a second, because I definitely had like a costume design art direction moment here.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, but especially back with the original series, but throughout all of Star Trek or any like sci-fi thing, you can tell people are going out finding props and cloths and just being like, sure, this looks futuristic. This is shiny. This is metallic. This changes color when you move it around like a butterfly wing.
Is shiny.
So in this case, they found this red sheer fabric that has these geometric repeating circles. And I can totally tell that probably what they thought is like, sure, this looks techie. Like these circles are some sort of, filtering
circuit,
techie tech fabric. So they made these, they look like biohazard suits like you would kind of see today. But then the funny thing, like you mentioned, is that you realize, well, Joe, as you put it, crewman Joe, he has an itch on his nose. So he decides he's going to take his glove off and then put his hand up the head covering part. And that's when you realize, oh, God, there's no ceiling or anything. It's just like you're wearing a cloth bag over your head. Yeah, and he proceeds to itch his nose and then examine the space station with this glove off. And that's how the initial infection gets on his hand. Yeah. And starts the whole thing. And there's so many things that we have to point out with this. The fact that it's like, okay, I guess these suits aren't airtight. And also I'm thinking, if you had an itch in your nose, because this is fabric, it's not like it's a hard, stiff material. Couldn't you just itch your nose through the helmet? It's just
you absolutely
flimsy fabric. You don't need to actually take your glove off and shove it up your suit.
No.
Yeah. And I thought the whole way that Joe gets infected is a little lazy. I would have loved it if the person fell out of the shower, kind of like the TNG episode, or the body fell over on him and maybe ripped the suit and he accidentally touched him. And that's why he got infected. It seems like there's like way more clever reasons or ways that he could have been infected.
Yes, 100%. This is all because Joe has bad hygiene? Or Joe can't follow protocol? Like, why are you wearing the glove if you can just take it off whenever you want? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Also, watching this is a fucking nightmare when you're in the middle of a pandemic.
I know. There's a lot of moments like that.
I was like, no. Why? I was like, is this a PSA for don't touch your face? Like, this is this is basically what I'm getting from this whole scene is don't fucking touch your face, you guys. Ugh. Oh my God.
Or other people's face. Just don't touch anything.
Don't touch anything. Why is this guy? Why? And then he's like literally just like putting his hands on every surface.
Yes.
Like he's just like touching every surface. Okay. Yeah. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
And in the original one, it gets on his hand and then it's shown to move through sweat, right?
Yeah.
But in the TNG episode, it's mutated, and I forget. Is it now in the air? Or
no, it's still sweat. They don't say it.
Okay, it's just the cure is different.
Yeah, that the cure that it's mutated somehow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very simple explanation as to why the original cure doesn't work.
Okay.
It must mutate. It must have mutated. Yeah. Oh yeah, sure, that's believable. That's fine.
Hey, coronavirus, we're having like 3 mutations right now, right?
Right? We totally buy. I buy it. I get it.
Well, how do you like the depiction of everyone being intoxicated? I know it says drunk. I like to say everyone's getting space drunk, but
yeah.
How do you think TOS handled the versions of all the characters getting intoxicated?
So here's my thing. Joe did not seem drunk to me. Patient Zero was just like super paranoid.
Well, I think
I was just like, what?
There's different kind of drunks, right?
There are lots of different kinds of drunks, but I was like,
some people say like, oh, I'm a mean drunk, or some people when they're drunk, they do, I think, get a little depressed. Like if you're,
I mean, alcohol is a depressant, so definitely. I was just there was a wide range, but in general, it seemed like, not counting Joe, original guy, men like to sing and to sing to women or into the comm system, or they want to work out and take off their clothes. And women get really emotional. And so does Spock. Women and Spock get really emotional. Men want to sing.
Is Chapel the only female character that gets intoxicated?
Yeah, because, I mean, technically, I think Uhura does, but she's just so pro.
Oh, that's right, because she kind of snaps at Kirk.
Yeah, she gets frustrated, but that's the rest of the time, she's just completely professional. I mean, Nichelle Nichols is one of my favorite parts of the original series, and always, she's just like, even though she doesn't have as much to do as she should, I'm just like, oh yes. The look that she gives Irish dude when he says something about let women work too, the look on her face is like, fuck you.
Well, I also like it when Sword Sulu, Fencing Sulu comes in and he's like, I'll save you, fair maiden, or something like that. And she goes, like, neither.
No, not neither of those things. Fencing Sulu.
Oh my God, yes.
I had forgotten that Fencing Sulu was in this, and I remembered, like, as soon as he said, I'm gonna go work out, he was like, let's go work out.
He sneaks off the bridge.
Like, he sneaks off the bridge to go work out. That's what he wants to do. As soon as he did that, I was like, oh, this is Fencing Sulu. I was like, this is where it happens.
And he is fit.
He is so fit. He is hilarious in this episode.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
He's so funny.
And I have to say, like, he's fit. And then also Spock, when he's getting kind of checked over in the beginning for contamination, and he's just wearing the black T-shirt.
Yeah.
You know, I was like,
hi, Leonard Nimoy.
Spock is fit too. It's like, we need more of that.
Yeah. Hello. Hi, guys. Love it. I love it. I love it. There are definitely some like, ooh, moments. Also, when Spock gets sad, I don't know why. Like, I love a brooding man, I guess. I was like, oh, Spock. Oh,
him and Damar,
honey.
right? You're a brooding alcoholic.
I love a brooding alcoholic. Yeah, but the specifically the Nurse Chapel gets drunk and then is super emotional and like falls in love with Spock. I was like, what? What? She just that's what happens when women get. But it's also like, this is the 1960s.
Yeah, well, and I think I mean, again, it was like interesting. I thought both these episodes, what was really shocking is how early it is, because you think there would have been more episodes to build up the characters.
Right, before you saw them drunk.
And then there would be kind of more of a reveal. So, for instance, like in my memory, my false memory, I thought there were more episodes in TOS before this that maybe established that Chapel was fond of Spock. And then later when it's like, oh my God, she's drunk and she's going to, confess her love, but it's only like the first handful of episodes. So it's almost like setting up the character for later on.
Yeah, you don't
and same
get
thing with Spock's emotional scene. By the way, I have to say the way that's shot is really nice. And Leonard Nimoy does a great job, but I
got really emotional during that scene.
Yeah, it's all one cut, and Spock comes in, he sits down, and the camera does this nice thing where it like starts out pretty wide and pushes in and then rotates behind him. And for such like an intimate moment that doesn't have a lot of action, I thought the camera did a nice job of just kind of making it feel just very intimate and weighted. Yeah.
Yes, I completely agree. That was one of my favorite scenes. I was sort of taken by surprise because I did not remember that. I just remembered the fact that Spock got emotional because because that makes sense in the universe of Star Trek. I did not remember though that he started thinking about his family, and he started thinking about his heritage, and he started thinking about his mother and how hard it must have been to live on Vulcan and be a human and all this. And I was just like, Spock.
Yeah, and this is after like drunken Irish songs and again like shirtless Sulu fencing around the ship and stuff, and so it is a huge contrast there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's also sandwiched by the Kirk Spock slapping scene.
Oh gosh,
right after it, where Spock's like, I'm embarrassed I think of you as my friend, and when I get emotional about you, I'm embarrassed. And then Kirk just slaps him. There's so much slapping.
There's so much slapping. Kirk keeps slapping him because he's like, I need you to focus. We only have 5 minutes or we're dead. And then finally Spock smacks him. But of course, since he's a Vulcan away stronger, Kirk goes flying.
Oh my God, it's amazing. I love that like Kirk is slapping him. They need more time, but like this is the time that Spock's like, you're my friend. And I care about you.
And Kirk's like, thank you, but
thank you, but I need you to focus right now. We are literally going to die.
What did you think about drunk Kirk?
It just was like Shatner. Honestly, I was like, oh, it's Shatner.
Yeah, it seems like in a weird way he could just be Kirk in another episode.
Yeah,
like he's definitely agitated, frantic.
Yeah,
maybe frantic's a better word.
Yeah, it did sort of ring true the spirit of it. Like if you're in charge and shit's going bad, and then all of a sudden you're drunk, like that's scary. That's a scary situation to be in. You're not going to be like singing Irish songs in engineering and having a great time. You're going to be like, I can't focus and I know that I need to, and this is scary. So that part of it, I was like, yeah, that makes sense to me that like he'd be like losing it. But also it seemed like he started to like get emotional about the ship.
Yeah.
Is that just me?
It's almost like he was reminiscing about the relationship with the ship and how that affects his relationships or lack of in real life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things I thought was interesting watching these two back to back is how TNG portrayed the drunken factor versus the original series.
Yeah.
And I feel like TNG pulled that off a little better.
Yes.
TOS, it almost seemed like with Kirk, it would be interesting if there was a disease that just made people say whatever was on their mind. Because that's to some degree what it felt like in some cases. And then in other characters, it really did feel like, okay, they're drunk. Like you said, like Sulu being like, yeah, let's go down and work out. And then he's like fencing and kind of woo off the walls. And I even could understand Joe being drunk and just sort of being like, what does it all mean, man?
Oh, yeah, totally. I'm sorry that I'm stuck on this, but I'm like, who gets drunk and wants to work out? Like what? Like, what world do you live in where you're like, I am wasted and I just want to go fencing?
Maybe it's the equivalent of like, I just want to dance, man.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's true. I guess that's true. You're right. You're totally right. You're right. You're right. I don't think I've ever been like that kind of drunk. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain kind of drunk that you have to be like the belligerent, like, I want to like go do some crazy shit kind of drunk. That never happens to me. Like, I've never blacked out.
Same here.
I think because I just fall asleep.
Yeah, I get tired.
I just get sleepy and I go to sleep. I have puked, but like I've never like been like, let's steal a go-kart.
Yeah, I never got into that arena.
Yeah, I've never been like, let's wrestle each other. I feel like in this episode, like that's the kind of drunk that Sulu is.
Okay.
Sulu's like,
he would steal
let's
a
break
go-kart.
into the zoo. Let's steal a go-kart. Let's drive around town.
Let's take the shuttle.
It's gonna be seriously. I feel like that's what we're looking at with Sulu.
Yeah. Well, okay. Do you mind if we jump to TNG in a way?
Oh yeah, we should.
Because I feel like this is a good way to, if we talked about how TOS's characters kind of were affected, how do you feel like in comparison, Next Generation handled it and their portrayal of people getting space drunk?
It's way funnier.
Yeah, it really ramps up by the end, especially.
Yeah, it gets very funny. And it's sort of amazing because here we both are watching this episode, which was the second episode.
Yes.
The next episode after the pilot. So like nobody's been established.
Exactly.
Like nothing has been established, but we know these characters so well now from everything that comes after this that watching it with that knowledge is so fucking lovely.
It's a really fun episode to go back and watch for me. It's a little bit of a guilty pleasure, but I think about how this was not the best move when the series originally came out, because one of the things they were trying to do for marketing is push the fact that this was going to be a new Star Trek and not just a rehash. And it's, come on, like the first
and
episode
then they literally
after the pilot
did a
is
rehash.
literally a rehash. And like you pointed out, this, I think, originally when it aired would have been a more fun episode if you had established all the characters. So even if it was season 1, but it was more towards the end, it would have been more enjoyable. I feel like
absolutely. I think that knowing what we know, especially every part of it is so fun. All of the Crusher Picard stuff is my fucking favorite. It is like they're so cute. They're definitely having a great time. Like I you can tell that they're having fun. Like the little interactions that they have when he comes in to see her and she's like, where the hell was I going? And he's like, I don't know.
I love the hop. This is
the little hop.
I told Keith, he walked by and I was like, wait for it. He's going to come in and hop. It's like the best scene. And he just goes,
it's so fucking great. Patrick Stewart is fucking adorable.
He and Gaze McFadden have such great chemistry in this episode and are bouncing back
Ugh.
and forth in such a fun way that their moments, there's a lot of fun moments for the characters, but
Yes.
yeah, the one where he comes in after the hop and
Yes.
he's like,
And she's like leaning on
yes,
her desk, and she's like got her rolly chair, and she's scooting
Yes.
it back and forth.
he and that's the thing. It's like so fun to watch it. And after, if you had like 10 episodes before this where you established Jean-Luc being super serious and stuff,
Yeah.
and then you see him being all silly and playful and drunk, and
Yes.
and his being drunk for me works better than like Kirk and stuff like that. Like he and
Yes,
Beverly do
yes.
feel like they're drunk and they're kind of like woo, and
Yeah.
but they realized, oh my god, I have to focus or everyone's gonna die.
Yes. Still satisfies the competency porn for me, because
Right.
they're affected by this condition that makes it hard for them to work, but they're still trying so hard. They're
Yes.
still like doing their best. It's kind of like night terrors, when they're all like falling asleep all over themselves, and they're still just trying their best
Yeah.
to do their jobs.
And just the little
Anyway.
things they do, like, first of all, I do, not now, doctor. Like Picard is
No, doctor.
like this bark.
Peace.
But like when that scene ends, he like gives this little weird playful wave, and she like waves
God.
back. And oh, I love it when they're talking about giving the vaccine, and they both turn away at the same time, and Patrick Stewart just has this like
Oh my God, it's so cute.
goofy, loopy
Yep.
face. Just little decisions like that make it so obvious, like what's going in their heads and how just loopy they are. And I love
Yeah,
just the
it's-
little, from an acting perspective, I just love the little decisions they made.
Yes, it's so
Yes, like
fucking
the
cute.
hop through the door. Like that's
Yes,
totally
yes.
a playful thing that wouldn't happen if you weren't
Yes, yes.
intoxicated.
I mean, this is a great time to bring up that like this episode is just full of memes and gifs.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
people go to this. This is a gold mine. So there's the Data wagging his finger.
Oh yeah.
There's that one. There's the Data leaning and falling down. There's the little Picard wave. There's a little Picard hop. There's the Bev leaning on the desk. All of these have become like gifs and memes in our community. Like people use these as reaction gifs all the time. And it's because this is some excellent shit, man. This is so fun to watch. It's so much fun.
I have a thing I want to tell you. I don't know if you know this. And
Yes,
I
please.
think maybe I read it on Memory Alpha, but I can't remember. But when Gates McFadden auditioned, part of it was this script. And she didn't realize that the premise of the episode was that Crusher was intoxicated. So she actually thought that Crusher was always kind of like a silly doctor or a sassy. So she thought that was like inherent in her character as Dr. Beverly Crusher, and didn't realize
Oh my
until after she got
God.
it that, oh, no, she's not like that the whole time. So
I love that. And there's a part of me that wants to believe that she kept a little bit of that
yeah,
for the
I
whole
hope
thing, because
so, too.
she's always, I mean, everyone knows how I feel about Beverly. I love her, but she's always got like a little bit of a wink, like she's always like, eh.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, we got to talk about Tasha too.
Yeah, I was gonna say other favorite things in this episode. Tasha is like all over the fucking place, because first, when she gets infected, it's because she's like being a good friend to Geordi.
Yeah, yeah. Like
And
Geordi
so that gets-
also feels. I guess what I like about this episode. I'm sorry because I'm interrupting you.
No, it's
I
okay.
feel like the characters are not only more intoxicated, but I feel like they do a good job with the different shades of intoxication.
Yes.
So like Geordi getting drunk and then kind of falling into this semi depressing spiral about like, oh, I want real eyesight. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That just, to me, like some people start drinking and they, lose that kind of filter or those safeguards and start to reminisce about like all their regrets and things they didn't get to do. And it's sort of just, they're a mess when they're drunk. And then other people like Tasha, like she starts to be all about like, shaking her butt as she goes down the hall, and she's flirty and stuff.
I do have in my notes for the TNG episode that in the TOS episode, women who are drunk get emotional, and in the TNG episode, women who are drunk get horny. Which is very true. Okay, but back to Tasha. She is very sweet. She's like, there's a line where she's like, Geordi, I just have to do my job. This is my job. And then he's like, but I need your help. And then she's like, you're right. That's more important. What can I do to help you?
Yeah.
And that, you know how I am about that shit. I was like, oh, good friend moment. Good friend moment. I love it. I love that shit. But yeah, so on one end of the spectrum, she's so sweet and lovely. And then she's like raiding Deanna's closet.
Yes. And all these things that we never see Troy wear. I love how she's like, you have such great fashion. And I'm thinking, really? We never see any of this.
I'm like, where did this very large scarf come from?
Right.
And like, is it a dress? Is it a scarf? We don't know.
That's another moment where you could tell they were like, we don't have a budget. Get these scarves. Sure. Whatever.
We will never see Deanna wear any of this. And then she's like, she's like making out with random people in the hallways. She's just so horny. She's just like, she goes from like, I want to change my image, and then she's like, I just need to fuck like now. She's just
Well, it's kind of nice seeing her being the one, like, she's got swag, basically. She's got like this swagger, and you can tell she's just feeling herself. It is a nice contrast from TOS, where it's just like that one blonde crewman who's trying to get around the singing guy and is like, Spock, he won't let me do my job, you know? Like, she's the one. And so it's nice seeing Tasha kind of being the one she's not really like assaulting anyone, but I think
she's not
that actually
assaulting
reminds
anyone,
me when she's walking down the hallway through the ship. One thing that I definitely noticed that TNG does a little better than TOS is, and again, this may just been a budget thing. TOS, you all you hear is on the comm about how like fights are breaking out or there's all these disruptions, and you never really see anything besides our main characters and the one blonde crewman who like can't get around the singing guy. That's all you see.
Yeah.
And TNG, they don't have a whole ship going crazy, but you at least get some sense of what's going on in the ship. Like when she is walking through the hallways and there are like random crewmen who are laughing and kind of slung over each other, and that one starts kind of like giving her flirty faces back.
Yeah,
you can tell,
you actually
okay,
see
the ship's actually getting infected. The crew is starting to get a little loopy. And then even
there are like people making out in the background.
Yeah.
And shit.
Or it's great when Wesley actually does take over engineering. And I like how in TOS, the guy's saying like, there's going to be ice cream tonight. In this episode, it's kind of a wink, wink. Wesley's like, there will be a dessert course before and after all meals, including breakfast. But when he's making those announcements and you have like it's like 10 extras that are just like all laughing and they're like one big happy crowd, like applauding. Yeah. Again, it's like, okay, this actually feels like these people are really drunk and they're just,
yeah, they're just like,
having a
they're
good
just
time.
Snuggling. They're literally just snuggling and giggling.
And laughing
like,
at Captain Wesley. Like, Wesley, woohoo.
They're like, yeah, man, it's great. It's fun.
And just those little things are so great.
Yeah. And that one engineering guy who's like basically acting like a baby.
I love him. He's one of my favorite drunk characters, I think.
Yeah,
he's like playing with the chips. Like you said, they're like Lincoln Logs, and that's the perfect way to describe it. I love that in this episode, because that's the other thing, too. In the first one, Riley, I'm thinking, like, if he's supposed to be this drunk where he's just rambling on the comm and, singing and stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's still got enough agency to actually shut down everything and change the frequencies on Uhura and all that. I'm thinking, how is he able to be so efficient and sneaky, but also completely drunk? And I like how in the TNG episode, Wesley's, sure, he's still doing all this high-tech stuff, but it's a combination of him and the engineer guy. And he's just like pulling things out and having fun with them. So it's more of accidental sabatage than Yeah, it just feels like more realistic. Like if people got drunk,
it really does.
They would get really careless, and that's why they can't get into engineering, and the ship can't do what it needs to get them out of danger.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Again, that dude is hilarious, and the whole concept of taking out the isolinear chips and playing with them. I mean, that is, to be honest, something that I have fantasized about.
Instead of a ball pit, it's just you. Those chips would kind of hurt.
I guess it would hurt. I don't know. There's something like tactile about like the way that like whatever sound effect they use for them. Like it sort of sounds like you know the sound of like mahjong tiles?
Oh, I can imagine it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like Scrabble tiles.
Yeah, it's just like that clicking.
That clicking sound. Like I love that sound. There's like it's something about it that's really satisfying.
Just like a sensory thing.
Yeah, it's a total sensory thing. It's like I think it's like in Amelie where she like loves to stick her hand
in the barrel
and like a bag of lentils. Yeah. It's like that. Like I just want a pile of isolinear chips and I want to like throw them in the air like this dude is. Like I want to just like play. I want to like just play with them because that sounds like fun.
I'm imagining like like the American Beauty scene with the roses.
Yeah.
I'm now just imagining you and like the chips like flying out.
Oh God. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. Can we Photoshop
That's
that?
the like, please Photoshop this moment, but also
please
maybe
Photoshop this. Yeah. Instead of rose petals, isolinear chips. That's what I want. I'm totally into it. I also, the other thing about the TNG episode, and I think it's just because, the time it was made in, the humor was different, that there are way more like little joke moments. Just like little tiny jokes. Here's a joke. Here's a little joke. Here's another joke. Here's a little joke. Like it was an adult who did it joke. There are just so many, like Data trying to lean on a thing and falling over. Like that kind of stuff.
So much slapstick. Yeah.
There's so much more slapstick than in the TOS episode. And I mean, there are like really funny moments in that episode, but there aren't like, it's not the same as like purposeful little joke moments that happen in the TNG episode. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so much fun to watch is that like, it's just fucking silly.
Yeah, it's wacky. I've mentioned wacky Star Trek. This one gets much more wackier.
Yeah, so we love wacky Star Trek. Yes, we enjoy the wacky Star Trek.
Yeah, and we have to talk about not only Data, but then Data and Tasha.
We could do an entire episode about Data season 1.
Yeah, we've mentioned Data season 1 when we talked about Haven, about how Data was still cooking, as you said.
Yeah, Data's not done yet.
Yeah, and so that's
Data
also a weird thing, the fact that we know he's an android, but again, if this was like later in the season, I think we would have appreciated Data getting so wacky and out of character. Do they ever explain how Data really gets infected?
No.
I know it's brought up, but they don't. They're just like, roll with it.
They don't explain it. Like later in the series, he would not be affected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think you're right.
Like he would be, like in the game, like he would be incapacitated somehow. And, then would come back and be the and still do that.
It would almost be interesting if you really wanted to pull that off, if there was somebody who was infected and drunk and they did something to Data and then Data just wasn't working properly, and so that's what was causing like the malfunctions.
yes Or I mean, they kind of do that in Generations with the emotion chip.
Yeah. Like, obviously, it wouldn't be exactly that, but it would, it'd just be interesting if there was something disabled or, because you know how it is in Star Trek. You hold up like a glowy stick, and it's like boop 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 boop. Oh, they've turned off my blah blah systems, and now I can't like move right, so I keep doing all the slapstick stuff. Or anyways,
they turned off my blah blah systems. I feel like my blah blah systems are working great.
And also, you've brought
Personally.
this up too with when we talked about Haven, was that Data, since they were still kind of figuring him out, there's moments where he does seem very emotional when he shouldn't be. And the fact that he's not infected yet, but he goes to get Tasha, and then that's like one of the most iconic, images of Tasha in that dress she's wearing. And the
we
curly,
will talk
the,
about
like,
that dress.
Superman curl.
The Superman curl,
Yeah.
the under boob exposure, the deep V cut waistline in the pants, which was so popular on TNG during this season, like the V cut.
I know.
Every one of those like Aryan people on that those blonde people on that planet
Justice.
in Ethics, Justice, sorry, with the low V neck or the low V cut pant. Oh
yeah,
my God.
but he almost seems like nervous, like he kind of swallows, like timid, and I don't. But again, like Data shouldn't be that way.
No,
so it's kind of weird going back to season 1 where he's supposed to be operating fine, but he can get nervous or
or he wouldn't be like,
wait a minute,
Lieutenant, this is not a good time. I would be happy to assist you when the crisis is finished. I don't feel like Data would be like distracted by something,
or
like
you said, he gives that like little sneaky smile when she drags him in.
Yeah, like gross. It's like kind of a gross smile.
Yeah. But again, it's like, okay, if he's infected or disabled, sure, but this is supposed to be
normal Data. Yeah,
I have to bring up Worf.
Oh, okay.
One thing I'm kind of surprised they didn't do, considering Sulu has a sword and is chasing people, is why didn't Worf get drunk and have a batleth and is just like, oh, fight me! Right?
Dude, yes. Okay, I did think about that. I did. And then part of me was like, maybe they were like, that is the thing that would make it too similar to the original episode.
Right, that's pushing it.
That's this far, no further. Like, what? Everything else about this episode is exactly like...
It could have been fun if it was just something in the background, like Picard's going down the hallway and you just see Worf in the background chasing someone with a bat lift.
Yep. Although I will say it is really cute seeing Worf like really trying to like do everyone's job, like hopping back and forth between the two con stations, like just really trying to stay like on it because he knows everyone else is fucked up.
Yeah, he's pretty straight in this episode.
Mm-hmm. He is. He's very, very straight. I'm just like, there's so many just like hilarious moments in this episode, in both episodes. There's just so much going on, and it was a pleasure to watch both of these.
I was asking myself, like, have I actually seen Naked Time like in its entirety? Because I thought maybe it was one of those things that I've seen scenes here and there.
Right.
Kind of like when you turn the TV on at midnight and The Godfather's on, but it's already like 60% through. And it's like, well, I've basically seen it, but not from start to finish. But watching it, I thought, like I have seen it all the way through. And it's funny because it is wacky, but for me, it's not as coherent. All right, I'm trying to think, like, do I like the Tribble one more? And I think I might like the Tribble one more, even though I don't want to say Naked Time is a bad episode. It's not a bad episode.
Yeah.
It's
just not totally cohesive.
I'm trying to think, like, if I like the TNG version one better or the TOS one, or if they were just trying to be different things. There's so many ways you could go about this too, because again, like TNG, this being such one of the first episodes, it was kind of a bad move from marketing, even though we've agreed it's fun, but is it good?
Yeah, absolutely. Like because they did sort of take this premise and do it even more times than just this. You know, like I mentioned earlier, the game is very similar in its premise.
That's more of a metaphor for like drug addiction.
Yeah. But the concept of somebody brings something to the ship that incapacitates the whole crew. and makes them all fucking weirdos. That's a concept that's happened again.
Yeah.
That's happened more times than just this. So I keep thinking, like, I would have loved to have seen this in season 5. You know?
Yeah.
Not the second episode of the first season.
Yeah.
Like, in season 5, it would have, like, all of this would have been, like, can you imagine season 5 Crusher and season 5 Picard? You know what I mean? Like, flirting this way.
After all that build up. Yeah.
After all that build up, like, imagine fucking Geordi. Like, how heartbreaking all of those moments with Geordi would be. Because
Geordi has always been so, and
So,
even
like,
mentions in the episode, he's always been so proud about his, his eyesight, I'm putting quotes on it. But yeah, so to have all these moments with these characters, I think would have been more impactful if he had it later.
Totally. Like, even like the like silly moment with Riker and Troy would have been like more intense. We wouldn't have had Tasha, but
That's
like
true.
we would have had Guinan though. Oh, a drunk Guinan.
I think
That's
actually
what I
what
wish.
what you could have done if this was later is we didn't really talk about Troy, but there is that scene where she's just like, Bill, everyone on the ship, I can feel them. Like, so Troy suddenly is getting all these drunken minds in hers, and she's kind of coming on to Riker. But I think she would be Troy. Like, she would be basically a magnet for all this sexuality.
Yeah.
And she would be the one who has the swagger and is bopping around and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So you could pull off a similar vibe.
You could definitely pull off a similar vibe. And there would be, I mean, I just feel like it would have been so, like we've said this so many times, it would have been so much more effective if we had all of this backstory. Like it would have been cuter, it would have been funnier, it would have been more interesting.
Yeah.
Like they were like scared. It's almost like they were scared because this is a big deal, continuing this classic TV show that had such an incredibly loyal fan base, and trying to do it again, like it is scary. So basically it feels sort of cowardly to do this episode as the second episode. You know what I mean? It seems like
yes. It seems like it seems like they lacked confidence in their own ability.
Yes.
And I think about what you did say in the Tribble remix, where the nice thing about the Deep Space Nine episode was they were doing it because it was the 30th anniversary, right, of Star Trek, and so obviously that timing influenced it, but also we get it midway through that franchise of Deep Space Nine. The series run. And so by then, like you said, we have all this backstory. And it's almost like this series just kind of took a fun break. I remember you mentioning that it doesn't affect canon. Like, if you miss the episode, you're not going to miss out on some important thing about Odo or Cisco. But it's so not only is it a well-made episode, but it's also just fun to see those characters in that environment, in that situation.
Yes.
And like you said, obviously, since everything's online and we've seen all these episodes hundreds of times. When you go back, you kind of, in a weird way, you're like, do you have that backstory to say, it's so funny to see, Picard and Beverly like this, but in real time when it came out, you don't. Nothing's
we didn't have that
established,
context.
and it probably was frustrating for some people just to see this new, this promised new Star Trek, and then just to feel like, it's going to be recycled. But I think now if you watch it, it's fun. Like, for me,
now
like
it's
I
fun.
said,
Absolutely.
This is a fun one just to go back. And for me, one of the rare ones from season 1 that I actually enjoy.
Yes, same. I did remember this episode quite well, actually. I didn't remember. There were moments of the, like, once I got back into it, I was like, oh yeah, Naked Time, I know you. I know you well. I remember you, Kevin Thomas Riley. I love how he says his whole name.
Yes.
It's like you meet a 4-year-old that just learned how to say their whole name, and they want to say their whole name to you
and their age. And I'm
I'm 3
also and a half. Like, it's always very important when you get to that half mark.
Yes. Totally. They want to give you all the details. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
He was like, my name is Kevin Thomas Wiley, and I am 25 and a half years old, and I'm Irish. My mom told me I was Irish. That like really, I'm sorry. That's like what it felt like to me. But yeah, I have fond memories of these episodes. I love a wacky Star Trek, and like even though y'all, why'd you do this so early? It's still so much fun to watch this episode.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would say for this one, it's more interesting to watch them back to back. Where I felt like the Tribble one was more, you kept saying it was like a love letter. Like the Deep Space Nine one, it's really fun to see how those fit together. They're like two pieces of the same puzzle. Whereas this one, it's just kind of like, hey, they did this and they kind of did that here. So I'm not going to say it's one of those that it's amazingly
you don't need to watch them back to
enhanced
back.
by watching them together. But yeah, you will definitely notice similarities if you do.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fun.
Question mark?
Maybe, but it's not necessary. Like, you could, I mean, but these are definitely episodes that like any random day I want to put on a Star Trek. Like, I would totally put on Naked Time and just be like, I'm just going to put that on right now. I would like to see some shirtless Sulu running around in a hallway with a fucking sword.
And who wouldn't, really?
Who wouldn't?
That's what we need.
Well, thanks for listening, you guys. We're going to do more of these. There are so many more episodes like this that are like, wait a minute. I feel like I know what's happening here. Did I already see this? We have a whole list of them. If you think of any, let us know. You can send us a DM, comment on an Instagram thing or whatever. You probably have our phone numbers, so just text us.
And we'll take a look or a watch.
Yeah, we'll watch. Yay! I think we did it.
Bye.
Find us in the collective at intothewormhole.show, on Instagram at intothewormhole.podcast. Into the Wormhole is brought to you by We Own This Town.
Beverly unsuccessfully putting up her hair while whispering, "Must find the answer."
That's your vibe right now. That's your mood.
My fucking vibe. My fucking vibe. My fucking vibe. My fucking vibe. My fucking